Now that we have an idea about the functions of a family, also the dysfunctions and also how the functions are gradually changing over a period of time, let's try to understand the internal dynamics within the family. What is the structure that exists within a family? What is the structure of a family? So, along few lines, we can analyze. First thing, different families will have again different sizes, right? Families vary in terms of size. So one thing that can be observed, or one thing that can be analyzed is what is the size of the family? Is it a nuclear family or is it a joint family, extended family? Nuclear families means maximum 2 generations. What is the authority or who has the authority within the family? Who holds power, who controls property, who takes most of the decisions? Most likely in India, and in fact world over this is the case, most likely you have patriarchal families. It is mostly the male members who have authority, and here also there is some sort of seniority. Those who are the elder male members, they tend to have more authority. Another thing that can be analyzed is what sort of bonds exist within the members of the family. What is that kinship bond? Whether some kinship bonds are treated different from other bonds. So usually what happens is the conjugal bonds are subordinated to consanguine bonds. Now what is this? Conjugal bonds means the bond which exists between the husband and the wife. That bond is given less importance as compared to the bond that exists between the brothers. So let's say there are 3 brothers, and again they will have their own spouses here, right? A, C, D, something. So the relationship between the brothers, the consanguine bond, that is given more importance than the bond which exists between the husband and wife. What is the reason? In extended families, the extended family survival actually depends on, or extended families survival or how the durability depends on how they are managing property, how they're holding property together. So if these brothers, the bond between the brothers is not strong, then again they will have different kinds of conflicts, maybe they will have different kinds of disputes, and all these things will lead to a situation where the joint family will disintegrate. So this bond has to be made very strong. Again, large families, patrilocal setup, so most likely the female members, they have come from different families. So there might be some sort of fear, apprehension that if these bonds become stronger, it might lead to a situation where one particular couple decides that, okay, we will not be part of this entire family, we will separate out or we will move to a new household. So those kind of apprehensions are there. So that is the reason these bonds are given more importance. Another thing that is observed is filial bonds are stronger. That means the bond between the parents and the children, that is typically strong. But again, there's a difference between the bond between a father and a child and a mother and a child. Generally, the father and the child, it can be slightly different. Mutual respect, it might not be as open as the relationship between a mother and a child. But again, these are all like ideal types, may not always be the case. In extended families, this is most likely the case. Descent, how you can trace your lineage. Most likely in the Indian scenario, it is patrilineal descent. In some societies, some communities, exceptions, it can be matrilineal descent as well. Seniority is typically a source for authority and it is a source for respect. So those who are elder, they are given respect within the family setup. Now, how is labor divided? The different kinds of tasks that have to be carried out, how it is divided. Usually, there is sexual division of labor. Female members, they are expected to work within the household and the male members are expected to work outside. Female members are supposed to carry out different kinds of household activities, cleaning, cooking, rearing the children. Right? So these are the activities. So on the basis of sex, activities are divided and certain kinds of activities are considered masculine, certain kinds of activities are considered feminine. So these kind of stereotyping also exists within the family. What kind of rules are there? Incest is generally considered taboo. Incest means sexual relations between kins and between family members. So there are different kind of social norms which prevent sexual relations between family members. And then there are other rules. For example, women are expected to take care of the children. They are supposed to bring up the children. Who holds property? How is the ownership pattern decided? Usually, the adult males, they own property and the succession is patrilineal. From males to males, the property is inherited. So typically, this is how the structure of the family looks like, especially the extended family. So now we have an idea about the structure of the family. But point to be noted here is the structure of the family is again not something which is static. The structure of the family is also gradually changing. It has in fact changed over a period of time. So what we will do now is we'll look at these changes. In fact, when I was discussing the structure of the family, at that point itself, right, you might have thought about, or you might have got these questions that, okay, whatever he is discussing, maybe some of these things are not applicable right now. For example, when I'm saying that conjugal bond is given less importance than consanguine bonds, right, you might be thinking, no, that's not the case. In the society that I am in the community that I am in, that's not the case. Or when I'm saying there is sexual division of labor, women are supposed to carry out different kind of household responsibilities, and there's men who are supposed to work outside. So at that point of time, you might be thinking, no, that's not necessarily the case. Women are also working outside, right? They're also equal partners. You are correct, right? So the things that we discussed, the structure that we discussed right now, this is how traditionally things were, right? In traditional family setup, that was the case. But as I have mentioned multiple times, our society is changing, our economy is changing, and many of these things are gradually changing. Society is evolving. So what we'll do is we'll look at some of these dimensions and we will see how things have changed. But one thing, keep in mind, all these changes that we are talking about, we're not talking only about the Indian scenario. We're just looking at how families are evolving world over. Right? Not specific to Indian scenario. We'll come to the Indian scenario maybe in a few minutes. So the first thing, conjugal relations. Right? So in traditional family, especially joint families, conjugal bond, the relationship between the bond between the husband and wife, it is given less importance as compared to the consanguine bonds, the bond between the brothers. And usually what happens, there is some amount of domination. It's the husband who decides. The women might not have as much say. Women do not have as much decision-making powers. But this is gradually changing. It is moving away from domination. Now, the relationship between the spouses, the husband and wife, it is more of cooperation. The relations are becoming more symmetrical in nature. The relationship is more about companionship now. But the question is, how did this happen? What are the factors behind this? See, multiple reasons. One of the reasons can be nuclearization, as families are becoming smaller, right? So all these, in joint family, typically you have different kinds of values associated with joint family. In joint families, there might be a requirement for the brothers to have a very strong bond, to hold property together, or else it will get disintegrated. But all those things are not required. All those things are not relevant in a nuclear setup. Right, so that might be leading to the shift in values, and conjugal bonds are given equal importance. Husband, wife, they are equal partners. Apart from this, there have been some major historical events which have led to some of this shift, which has led to women having a greater say as compared to the amount of decision-making powers they had in the past. For example, World War I. During the World War, it was the men who had to step out. Men were mostly fighting in these wars. So if men were working or men were fighting the wars, who is going to work in the industries? Local industries, domestic industries. So women stepped out. Women started working. Labor force participation rate of women increased. And as women are now doing things, which again at some point of time, it was considered that women cannot do all these things. But now women are showing that they're able to carry out these kind of activities. So women's say, women's standing, everything changes now. Russian Revolution. Communist movement talks about equality. That might have also influenced different kinds of values, norms back then. Different feminist movements in 1970s. They are also germinating these ideas. Right? That women are equal partners. Women can do all those things that men can, or men are doing. So all these things are leading to equality. Right? They're influencing the viewpoints of people world over. Next, parent-child relationship. How is it? Now, in the past, when you had mostly large families, joint families, the child used to be the child of the entire family. Uncles, aunts, grandparents, all of them. They used to take care of the child. So the responsibility of the child was not only on the parents. It was not the sole responsibility of the parents. But as there is a shift towards nuclearization, in a family, in a nuclear family, husband, wife, and their children. So the husband, wife, they have to give a lot of importance to the child. Families are becoming child-centric. And not only this, children's role in decision making is also increasing massively. One thing that you might have noticed, many of the TV commercials that you see, you will find child actors. Many of these commercials are at the end of the day targeted towards children who are also the audience, because children are now playing a very significant role in decision making. What kind of vehicle you should have or what kind of things you have, children might have a say in those things. I mean, they're not asked for their expert advice, but children might influence the decision of the parents, right? So children's role has changed and families are becoming more child-centric. Parental roles, both instrumental as well as emotional. Parents are again fulfilling the emotional functions. They're also fulfilling different kinds of economic functions. Right? So that is still exists. But one thing to be noted here is, in the past, like in traditional families, there were different kind of stereotypes. Men were expected to go outside and work. They were supposed to earn money, and that money will be supporting the children. On the other hand, it was expected that it is the women who will express their love, emotion, and they will take care of the child. They will bring up the child. But now that might not be the case. All these things have changed. Both husband and wife, they're working outside. Both husband and wife, they're taking care of the children. So the different kinds of gender stereotypes that were there in the past, they are gradually changing. Brother-sister relationship, it is more of equality. It's not that the sister is powerless, the brother has to protect her. No, it's equal. Right? Both of them are equal partners here. Marriages. How durable are marriages? So nowadays, marriages are also breaking down. What could be the reason why marriages are breaking down? One reason can be, in present setup, people have more expectations out of marriage. Right? So they already have some form of idea that this is what should be in an ideal marriage. They have all these kind of expectations. So if the expectations are high, the chances of it breaking down can also be high. So some thinkers talk about this. High expectations. In the past, people maybe did not have as much expectations, as a result of which, again, if the expectations are low, it will be easily met. So chances of marriages breaking down is low. But in the present setup, expectations tend to be quite high. Apart from that, there are high emotional tension, stress, which leads to higher chances of marriages breaking down. What about authority structure? Even now, do the elder members have more authority? Even now, do the male members have more authority? Again, here also there is a change. Individualism is on the rise. Not necessarily the younger ones will always agree to what the elder members are saying. Right? So people are more individualistic now. And not necessarily all the authority will be vested among the male members. Apart from that, new kinds of institutions are also coming up. People are not necessarily entering into the institution of marriage. Some of them are deciding to cohabit. So basically they're deciding that they will live in together. New kinds of families are also forming. Single parents families can be there. Reconstituted families can be there. So that entire idea, notion that a family means a husband, wife and 2 children or 1 child, all these things are changing now. You have a variety of families. You have a spectrum of families now. So the predominant or prevalent notions that were there about families, that have gradually changed. So let's look at some of these different variations that can be there. Right? There can be one dad family. There can be a one mom family. Right? So these are 2 different families. It's not one. So a single father right? Can form a family. Single mom family can also be there. Also, apart from that, there can be foster families. Now, in a foster family, foster parents, they decide to take care of a child for a certain duration, right? So, and these foster parents are decided on the basis of certain rules, regulations. The state decides that. So, for a certain duration, they will take care of the child. And again, this will be for a certain duration. It is not something which is permanent in nature. There will not be any legal obligation after that duration. There can be kinship families, the large families, the extensive kinship networks that are there. Then there can be step families or reconstituted families. It might so happen that a couple, husband wife, right? They're married, they're having children, their own children, but in the past maybe they were married to someone else. The husband was married to someone else. The husband has children from his previous wife. The present wife was married to someone else. So she has children from her previous husband. So this entire family, husband, wife, their own children, and their children from previous partners, right? This is a type of family. It can be called as a reconstituted family. Apart from that, there can be two dad family. There can be two moms family as well, two mothers and their children, adopted children maybe. So these are all different kinds of variants, right? So when you think of the institution of family, don't think of family means husband, wife, and their children. Multiple kinds of variations can exist. Again, the question is whether it is legally recognized or not. That might be there. In different societies, different rules, regulations might be there. In Indian society, maybe all of these things might not be applicable. But yeah, the idea of family as a social institution includes all these variations. The question is, how has the institution of family changed over a period of time? Or what are the factors which have led to these changes over a period of time? Right? We saw how the traditional family looks like, and we saw how the functions of the family is changing, how the structure of the family is changing. So let's try to understand what could be some of the factors which have led to these changes. One is industrialization. How does industrialization change family? In traditional societies, agrarian societies, what will be the role of family? What will be the function of family? The family will be carrying out economic production. The family will be imparting education, training to its young ones so that they can also take up agriculture. Family will be, again, transmitting different kinds of values. Right? So, family has multiple roles to play. But as societies modernize, as technology changes, as there is industrialization, now the function of family is now changing. How? In an industrialized economy, different kinds of economic activities are there. Different kinds of factories will be there. Different kinds of occupations will come up. Different kind of professions will come up. Can the family impart training for all these professions? No. People have to go to specialized institutions. People will go to schools. People will go to colleges. And then the place they will get placed, the workplace, will be different. So in the past, in agrarian society, it is possible to stay together in one place, right, in that rural area. But in an industrialized society, given the amount of options that you have, the amount of opportunities that you have, right, people will move to different places. So the joint family that you had, it will gradually break down. Nuclear families will be formed. So function of family is changing as well as the structure of family is also changing. And as structure changes, the equations within also change. Conjugal relations become more important. It becomes more symmetrical. Companionship will be there. In a agrarian society, that might not be the case. In agrarian society, since you have to hold property together, you have to work together, you have to stay together, sexual division of labor will be there. The relationship between brothers will be strong. Conjugal relationship will be subordinated. Law also has a significant role to play. State policy also has a significant role to play. I'll give you an example of this. If there is a law which prevents child marriage, if there is a law which prevents people from getting married at a younger age, what will happen? People will get married most likely at a slightly higher age. As a result of which the family size will not be large, right? If people are getting married at a younger age, chances of pregnancy will be higher, chances of they having more number of kids will also be higher. So law has these kind of implications. Apart from that, what kind of laws you have for inheritance of property, what kind of laws you have for divorce, that also has a bearing on family. If women are denied inheritance rights, right? So again, women's position will be vulnerable. If divorce laws are very stringent, then again, people will not go for divorce, or people will not be, people will find it very difficult to go for divorce. But if the laws are such that it is easy to get divorce, then again, chances of marital breakdowns might also be high. So law has its role. State policy plays a role. Population measures, land reforms, these are some examples from the Indian context. What kind of state policy you have, right? If the state is coming up with different kind of policies to stabilize the population, family size will gradually go down. What kind of land reform measures are there? That will also have a bearing. Whether the property can be held together, if there are certain kind of ceilings, then again, some families will find out different ways to circumvent that. Right, they will maybe register property under the name of different brothers, and this can now act as a spark for the family to disintegrate. So what kind of land reform measures, that also has a bearing. Sometimes some of these societal factors or sometimes modern ideas also have an implication on the structure of family. Right? For example, if societies are becoming more individualized, if people are becoming more individualistic, then again, the possibility of having joint families goes down. If women's status in the society improves, then what will happen? Sexual division of labor will be questioned. Nuclear families will become more common. Right? So, status of women also has a bearing on the structure of family. Similarly, if society is getting secularized, that means the role of religion on the society goes down. Right? So, people will start questioning things. Many times what happens, religion will prescribe, or religion will say that children are a gift of God, so you should have more number of children, as a result of which the family size becomes large. But if people are secularized, or people do not take into consideration religion when they are taking these decisions, right? People consider it to be an economic decision, how many kids you should have. People consider it to be a rational decision, so they will not have any number of kids, right? So, status of women, secularization of society, individualism, all these things have a bearing on the size of the family and the internal dynamics within the family. The role of media is also important in the sense that different kinds of modern ideas can be promoted by media. The kind of media that you have, it will have influence on the people, and accordingly, all these factors can come into play, which can in turn change the structure of the family. So these are all factors which can bring about change in the structure of family. So these are some of the things that we have seen world over when it comes to family. Now the question is, how does the family in India look like? Or what have been some interesting research on family in India? How large are these families? How is the size of the family changing over a period of time? So let's look at some of these findings. It will give us an idea, right, which direction we are heading. So this is from a report, 2019 report, UN Household Size and Composition Database. So they find out what is the typical household size in India, and they find out that couple along with their children, 41.5% of the total households in India, they are coupled with their children. But that does not mean that the large families do not exist. In fact, the next most common household is extended family. Some 37.1% of the households, they are extended family. Also, there are other combinations. Couple only is 8%. Lone mother 5.4%, lone father 0.9%. Right, so these are all the different kind of variations. Point to be noted is the most common kind of household is couple with children, and the second most common household is extended family. The same database also traces the change over a period of time. So what they're doing is data points. They're looking at data at different points of time. 1983. 1993, 2004 and 2050. Right? So 4 bars in each column you can see. So how things have changed. So if you look at couple only family, their percentage has gradually increased. Right, so couple only family, the percentage is gradually increasing over a period of time. Single parent family has also increased. Single mother with children has also increased. Single father with children has slightly declined. Right, so couple only families, single parent families has increased. Right, so something that we were already discussing. So this is how the transition is. Now, you might have a question that pan-India level, right? Are these numbers same, or these numbers also vary from state to state, from region to region, right? There can be some variations. Within India, there is massive amount of diversity. The societies are also different in different states. So how do things vary from place to place? So let's look at this. So across the country, how things are. So this particular image, what it is showing is, it is showing India and the different states at different points of time, 2001 and 2011. So if a state has a higher proportion of 2 to 3 members households, it is dark in color. So if one state has a huge proportion of households which are having at max 3 members, it is darker in color. Right? So in 2001, you can see that some of the southern states, they have a large proportion of households which have just 2 to 3 members. By 2011, you can observe that many other parts of the country, they are now having slightly darker colors. See, look at the darkest red, it has increased further, right? So this darkest red that you have, it has increased to so many places. The other kind of red, I think the slightly pinkish red, this one, right? Maharashtra, Karnataka, Chhattisgarh and Odisha, right? So this has also increased to some other places. For example, Gujarat, some of the northern parts of India and many of the northeastern parts of India. This kind of red, I mean slightly pink version, now you will find it in many other places. So what you see here is, there is a gradual transition happening. Throughout the country, the proportion of, in most of the places in the country, most of the states in the country, the proportion of households which have maximum 3 members, it is gradually increasing. So the smaller households, they are increasing. See, UP is more or less same. Right? So in UP again, you have maybe a large number of joint families. It seems more or less same, right? Same color shade. In many other places, the color shade, you see a transition. Another way to look at it. So here what they are doing is, again, 2 different time points. Percentage of households which have 6 members. Total households, what is the percentage of households that have 6 members or more? That means they are having more number of large families. So darker the shade, higher the proportion of large families. So here you can find that some states, Rajasthan, Jammu Kashmir, UP, Bihar, right, Nagaland, right. So these are the places where you have high proportion of families, like more than 50% of the households have more than 6 members. Cut to 2011, very few places, maybe in Uttar Pradesh is in that dark shade, has more than 50% of the families which have more than 6 members. Look at the light shades. Kerala, Goa, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, right? Here, less than 30% of the households have more than 6 members. Look at 2011. So many states in India have less than 30% of the population having more than 6 members in their household. Right? So it shows that there's a gradual shift towards smaller families, smaller households. Right? So this is something which is interesting. So I thought I should share it with you. And again, it gives you an idea that all states in India are not same. Right? All states are performing at different levels. Some states have smaller families, some states have larger families. And maybe it has got something to do with the kind of society you have over there, the kind of socio-economic development that you have. This is something that you will have greater clarity when we will be discussing another topic, the topic of population. Population is going to be a separate topic. It's a separate topic. We have a separate discussion on that. So what all decides the number of children in a family? What all decides fertility rates? Some of these things we are going to discuss over there. So there you will have even more idea about some of these things. So this is how things look like. So we now have seen that usually what happens, the size of the family is changing. We are moving from joint families to nuclear families. Kinship ties, since the family size is becoming small, maybe the kinship ties, right? Ties between a nuclear family here and a nuclear family somewhere else might be becoming weaker. We don't know that. Right? So these kind of things we have seen. And also the assumption is in nuclear families, you will have more modern outlook. People are more individualistic. Husband and wife, they are companion. There is symmetrical relation. Sexual division of labor is not happening. All these things. So is it always true? Or there are some variations to that as well. So what we'll do is we'll look at some of the interesting studies that have been carried out in India, and we'll see what are some of the findings here. We'll see that some of these things might be counterintuitive. For example, one thing we discussed was, as there is industrialization, right? Joint families find it difficult to exist. There is specialization, there is division of labor. So there's a need for specialization. There is a need for college education maybe. And the jobs are in different places. So people have to step out. They cannot stay with their own parents. They have to move out looking for different opportunities. Different brothers or different sisters or brother sisters, they have to find out different opportunities. So industrialization leads to breakdown of large families into small families, right? Nuclear families. This is what we had seen. But one study finds out in India something unique. Milton Singer finds out that in India, many industrial houses are run by joint families. So industrialization and joint family, we saw that they are kind of perpendicular to one another, tangent to one another. But Milton Singer says that, look at India, there are so many industrial houses. They're all family run, right? So look at maybe the Birlas or the Ambanis or the Tatas. Many of them are family run houses. But at the same time, Milton Singer in his study finds out that there is some sort of not conflict, but there is a dichotomy here. So Milton Singer says that when it comes to the workplace, these families, the members of the families, they will have a very modern professional outlook. Like they're interacting with the markets, right? So they will have a very modern professional outlook. But when it comes to home, their outlook will be traditional. Maybe they will have sexual division of labor. Maybe the authority structure, again, it's on the basis of age or it is on the basis of sex. So there is a divergence in many of these industrial houses. That's what Milton Singer finds out. M.S. Gore also has similar kind of observations. M.S. Gore studies Agarwal community and says that 75% of them prefer to have joint families. And again, Agarwals are known for their business activities, right? They are very good when it comes to business. And among them, there is preference for having joint families. In fact, there is cooperation between family members when it comes to different kinds of business related matters. They help each other out whenever requirement is there. So this is interesting, kind of a variation. Industrialization and joint family, large families, they are kind of in sync with one another. Another study by Menefee Singh among slum dwellers in Delhi. Slums, that means urban areas. You would expect that in urban areas, in slums, you will have nuclear families, and those who will be staying here, they will be migrants. Their family will be back home in the villages maybe. So their kinship relations, right, their kinship ties with people back home would have become weaker. Menefee Singh finds a very interesting trend. Among the slum dwellers, there is what is referred to as fictive kinship. Those who are staying in the slums, they face very harsh circumstances, difficult life. It's not easy. Sometimes they might not have enough resources. They will need help at different points of time. Sometimes they will need each other. But they don't have their own kins out there. Their relatives are not there. So what do? So they maintain fictive kinship. They will call each other by different kin names. They will call someone as bhaiya, someone as bhavi, someone as didi, something like that. They will create these relations. Right? These are not blood relations or relations through marriage. These are relations that they have created. They are fictive, not real. But this fictive kinship helps them adapt to different kinds of harsh circumstances in city, right, where they don't have any real kins. Similar kind of thing was observed by M. Chatterjee in the study of Banaras. Widespread use of fictive relations. People who are staying within same community, within the same mohalla, they have fictive relationships, but the fictive relationships are not just limited to those who are staying within the mohalla. Those who are outside them, along with them also, they will have some fictive relationships. Study in Pune again finds out that workers, they maintain extended kinship ties. The assumption is, as people migrate, they move from villages to cities, they will not be maintaining these strong kinship ties back home. But that's not the case. Strong kinship ties was there. Study in Meerut. Usually there is close interaction between kins for different festivals, right? For Chhat Puja or different kinds of festivals, people go back to their villages, they celebrate it together. So kinship ties are maintained. Panini says many entrepreneurial castes, they use their kinship networks, caste networks for achieving their business interests. Now, what is this? What is the reason why we're discussing this? We saw that industrialization businesses, or at least that was what many sociologists thought, that industrialization, entrepreneurial activity, they all don't go hand in hand with joint families or extended kinship networks. But Panini finds out that people actually use caste networks, kinship networks for their business activities. If they want to start something and they don't have enough finance, what will they do? One option is they can go to the bank. But in case of India, financial inclusion is limited. Also, the capacity of the banks to give loans is limited. There's not much trust also. So how do they start businesses if they don't even have money? So they will rely on maybe someone from the same kinship network or someone from the same caste. Not just Panini, there have been multiple studies on this. How members from a particular caste, they will be dominating in a particular sector. Jewelry, again, members from a particular caste will be dominating. Initially, again, over a period of time, things have changed. Many other players have entered. But this is how things are. Because members from the same caste, they help each other out. They will be giving them finance. They will be giving them something else. And this is how businesses have worked in the Indian context. So, economic activity, industrialization, businesses and family, right? So, this is the kind of linkage that you find in India in certain areas. So, this is about family and the different components of family, right? So we first try to understand what is family, and we looked at one definition of family given by Murdoch. But even though that definition was based on 250 different societies, but it does not capture how the families have changed or are changing in the recent context. Then we try to understand the functions of family. And we try to also understand how these functions of family are changing. We also looked at the dysfunctions of family. To understand family, it is also important to understand the structure that exists within the family. We try to look at that. Size, authority, right, lineage, all these things. But the structure of the family is also changing. Then we saw how Indian families are changing, or what kind of structure Indian family typically has. And many features we saw are slightly different from what we would have expected. Right? How in India, large families and businesses, they go hand in hand. How we would expect that kinship ties become weak with distance, but people are now maintaining the kinship ties. They're celebrating festivals together, etc. But at the same time, they're also creating new kins, especially among the people who are from the lower socioeconomic background. So these are some interesting points that you observe in the context of family. So this is about family.